nobody really tells you that there's a huge learning curve with motherhood. And just when you think you've kind of gotten your bearings in one season, things change and you're thrown into a new season. So, first of all, just becoming a mom is a huge learning curve. And then you kind of get your bearings. And then a lot of times the child is growing up and you add a second child to the mix. And then for us, a third child and a fourth child. And it's all these constant transitions. And it's funny because people always talk about, oh, teenagers, they're so hard. And definitely the teenage years are so challenging, especially when I had 3 teenage girls and 1 tween daughter. Like, I look back 5 years ago where I was. I'm like, I don't know how I did it. It was a challenging season, just a lot of things going on. But I still think my hardest year of parenting was when I had 3 kids under the age of 4, before my 4th daughter even came along. Like, that year was just really, really hard for me. And that's why I had a hard time even finding that I was pregnant with my 4th one, because I felt like I was just starting to get my life back. And I couldn't imagine how I was going to add one more to the mix. Obviously, now I'm like, thank you, God, such a blessing. But it is hard. And, when my kids were little, my husband was commuting. And so he wasn't getting home until 8 o'clock a lot of nights. They were in a family business. And so when you own your own business, there's a lot more stress there than there would be maybe in a normal job too. So by the time he got home, the work of the day was done and I was exhausted, and so there were so many mornings, and he would have to leave early too because he was commuting. And so, I just remember so many mornings laying in bed and I'd hear the pitter patter of feet just running toward my bedroom. And, so many days I would feel defeated before I even got out of bed. And I'm like, just Lord, help me, help me, take on this day. And, those are the moments where it's really easy to get stuck in the negativity of motherhood. And there's so many narratives out there that will feed that. That's, those narratives that, it is that children are a burden. And I found myself sometimes being in that place. And I'm not saying we don't need to vent sometimes to our friends and to be honest that we're struggling and that it's hard, because we definitely need that. But I think it's really easy to get stuck in that place of defeat and seeing our children as burdens and not seeing the blessings and missing out on that. And it really is, it takes a lot of mental strength. And like you said, I think there's a learning curve in patience and learning to control our emotions and our temper. And I used to laugh at myself that I would lose my temper so easily too when they were little.
Oh.
And there were so many times that I thought I have not yelled like this since I was growing up and my sisters and I got into fights. And you think as you get older, you think that part of you growing up is kind of buried, and then it's like it came right back out with motherhood.
Well, it's almost like motherhood and parenting brings out some of your worst sides, unfortunately, and maybe the same for a marriage too. It's like you get comfortable in
Yes.
this environment, and then day after day, like similar things keep happening, and then finally you're like, oh, I can't handle this, like, stop. And
Yes.
then children, I think,
Yes.
children are in their own realm too, where their emotions aren't developed. They're a lot like kind of more all over the place, and
Yeah.
it can be hard if you yourself are kind of dysregulated. Like I kind of dove into the regulating your child. So,
Yes.
I my third son, I can relate to like the 3 kids was a lot. That was a big transition, going from 2 to 3, and then I can
Mm-hmm.
imagine 3 under 5 would be a lot. But after I had Micah, our third son, he was a challenge. And there was a lot of nights I would go to bed like, I'm so glad the day is over, like not really looking forward to the next day. And that's not really my nature. Like my nature is pretty excited
Yes.
about life. I look forward to the next day. I'm like, what fun
Yes.
can we, throw out our schedule and whatnot? Like how can we squeeze in as much fun as possible? And so it felt really weird to be like, I'm not excited for tomorrow. But that pushed me to kind of like figure out
Yes.
Micah and help him figure out his emotions. And I realized that instead of saying something like, go lay down in your room while we have some peace and quiet, I found he would scream and cry for 30 minutes. But if I just took him on the rocking chair and snuggled him for even a minute, that would solve the
Mm-hmm.
problem. And he would go from potentially screaming for 30
Right.
minutes to like snuggling mama for 30 seconds or a couple minutes or reading a quick book. And then we'd move on with our day. And it was so much better. And so But nobody really told me this. I had to like kind of go and discover it. Like this to me is a bright side of social media is if you're looking for help, you can find good help and you can pick different brains, so to say, on there and kind of search stuff up and find things, and then your algorithms will start sending you different information and you can kind of like experiment and see what works.